We'll know in about a mile, can she become the first female to lead a lap in the Daytona 500?
Hamlin coming hard on the inside now with Kenseth. Under green, fans to their feet, to the line. She's done it. Danica Patrick has led the Indy 500 and the Daytona 500.
And these fans were cheering. They were on their feet.
All right, check that box.
Another one.
You know, earlier on the first green flag stop, she fell back from 3rd to 7th, but we analyzed the times, Larry. It was through no fault of her own.
Actually, her crew, compared to another one of the leaders up there, was almost 2 seconds off on the pit stop itself.
Listen, you know me, I like to get in there and see what the driver's doing. Look at, she's looking behind her, she's checking her mirrors, and she is not wrestling or fighting with that car at all. That car is driving to perfection. It gives her, she's so comfortable. She can look behind her and see where everyone is. In the corner, 31 degrees of banking, and that car is stuck like glue. What a great job the team has done, and what a great job she's doing.
In 1977, Janet Guthrie led 5 laps under caution. Danica Patrick, 30 years old, from Roscoe, Illinois, the first woman driver to lead a lap under green in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
And you got to look at the 2 teammates down on the bottom. They are hooking up, and they're making that bottom work right now. But if she'll just hang in there, and Boyer will get up there and give her a little shove, I believe she can hold the lead.
At the stripe, it'll be Hamlin on the inside. And the inside lane, led by Matt Kenseth, is coming in.
Well, unless she wasn't going to pit with everybody. But she still got Jimmy Johnson out there with her.
Krista?
The Toyotas pitting together. Jason Ratcliffe reminding his driver, Matt Kenseth, your number is 20. Remember, he's with a new team. He said his car is neutral and clean air, and that's where he's been. Matt?
And Denny Hamlin comes to a stop. They're going to go 4 tires on this stop. That way, it gives them options later on. Meanwhile, the 15 of Clint Boyer, all quiet on his radio. He's been somewhat pleased with his car. The Toyotas are away.
Matt Kenseth of that group will be first off pit road. And Patrick still in the high lane, no intention of pitting this time.
Well, Mike, we heard her say that, you know, she's just been kind of pedaling along there in the draft. So she thinks she has a lot of fuel left.
Here's what she had to say about Matt Kenseth when Kenseth was leading that big pack. I'm sorry we don't have it, but Patrick said Kenseth must be using more fuel at the head of the pack than she was at part throttle, so she believes she can go a couple of laps further than the man who was the race leader when pit stops began.
And that's okay, as long as she has dance partners that come to pit road with her. You can't just keep running out there by yourself. You'll be 2 seconds slower than everyone that's in the draft.
Yeah,
Jeff Burton and Paul Menard made their pit stops and come back out. Kevin Harvick returns to the race.
Larry, I believe this is a very decisive moment in this race for that 10 car. What are they going to do?
Well, I think the good thing, just a few drivers behind her, you've got Jimmy Johnson in the 48, you have Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. I'm sure they're communicating with those crews, all run the Hendrick engine package, possibly come to pit road together.
And this is when by now you have a lot of fuel mileage information. So you know kind of how much further you can stretch it out.
Here's the other agenda. Her crew chief, Daytona Beach-born Tony Gibson, a veteran of this series, said, we want to lead some laps today. They're doing just that.
This may be I think they're getting ready to come, Larry. Yeah, here they come.
Joey Logano flashes by. Greg Biffle comes on to pit road with Patrick and 5 others, including Jimmy Johnson. Leader, last year's pole sitter for the Daytona 500 in green and orange, Danica Patrick.
And obviously she's in the middle of the pack of these drivers because all those drivers in front of her, they have made a green flag pit stop.
And a tough break for Almirola. He dragged equipment out of the pit box and were corrected. It is not a pass-through penalty. It is a more major penalty as he carried the jack out of his pit. As Kyle Busch served, so will Almirola, a stop-and-go penalty on pit road. Danica Patrick leads the Daytona 500. 89 laps complete, 100, right at 200 miles an hour. Patrick to the lead, but Menard has that big, high, wide radius through turn 4 in the trial vote. But here she comes. Danica Patrick's going to lead a lap at Talladega.
And I think the crowd loves the fact that she just led that lap.
Well, there have been 3 women that have raced here. Janet Guthrie back in the 70s and Patty Moise in 1989, and now Danica. And the best finish by any of them have been by Janet Guthrie. She finished 32nd here once.
Good chance that could change today. On the inside, Patrick, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, then Matt Kenseth. That's a potent group on the inside as you watch Danica Patrick at work. I bet her 1 million followers are lighting up Twitter right now.
I know she's got to be enjoying this. I mean, the struggles she's had this year, and there have been many, to be able to lead this field around this big place, quite a thrill. I know what it feels like.
Gordon looked to the middle. Patrick came up to cover the spot. He's not going to let go of that lead without a fight.
Danica's pretty savvy on these super speedways, Daytona and Talladega. She's got a real sense of where the car needs to be, where the air is, how to side draft. She's the total package when it comes to restrictor plate racing.
Now she comes down to pick up Keselowski. And Larry, this is what you talked about in pre-race. When there's nothing out your windshield but the racetrack, you can't drive into somebody else's trouble.
And the spotter in your ear, and what she saw, and I'm sure her spotter told her, the inside was moving, led by Brad Keselowski in that white number 2 car, and that's why she moved down to the bottom.
Jeff Gordon comes down to pick up a little side draft off Patrick. Who'll lead this lap? Give it to Gordon. Everybody's picked their lane and is content to ride for just a little while. Every time Brad Keselowski in the white number 2 moves up, Patrick comes up to cover, and she retains the lead. This is the 3rd Sprint Cup race that she has led, all of them coming at Daytona and Talladega. There are your lap leaders. Let's go to her pit and Steve Burns.
And Mike, listening to Danica Patrick, although she is the leader and looking at a lot of real estate out her windshield, she's looking in her rearview mirror too. She just told her spotter, Brandon Benish, I know who's dropping back to get ready to take a run at me. I can tell it.
Well, for a moment, she jumped up there in front of Jeff Gordon in the 24 down the backstretch, but came right back down in front of Keselowski in the 2.
Got to remember one thing, in this kind of racing, that yellow line is your best friend. That's just like having a wall down there. Stay on that yellow line. If somebody goes around you, make them go around you on the outside, like that.
And that's what Brad Keselowski just did.
Whoa!
You'd think Dale Jr. was up there racing for the lead, the way those fans just jumped to their feet.
That's certainly the 2nd biggest roar that we've heard all day.
Without question. Side drafting thing. Talk to me about what you're trying to do there as a driver. You're Jimmy Johnson and you're moving over.
Yeah, you're moving over to get against that car. What it does is the air there will put drag on that car and literally try to pull it back. You're hoping that what it does then, it sucks somebody to your rear bumper and you can get a push. Danica played that perfectly though. Tried to get away from it just a little, didn't allow Jimmy to put that full force there.
Yeah, but I think she used it to get to that position too. She was using it pretty effectively to get to that right side door, even to the 48, to take the lead. I think she's doing a really good job there.
21 laps to go. New leader, Danica Patrick. Jimmy Johnson looking for a way back around.
What you have to do here as the leader is not give them too much of either side of you. If you give them too much on the bottom, then they'll make that run there. If you give them too much to the outside, wow, they're scattering right here.
Travis Kvapil in that black 33 with pink numbers leading that inside group. Looks like everybody had to check up in the middle there somewhere. But they all got away with it. Kevin Harvick, the big loser in that exchange. Austin Dillon now through to 6th place in the 3 car. Bandaged up after he was involved in the contact with Kyle Busch that sent the 18 car to the inside wall back at lap number 103.
You can see the left rear quarter panel of that car. It's got some damage. Looks like it's almost acting like a parachute, that it might be hurting him. Not keeping him from going towards the front. A lot of bandage on that car. A lot of tape.
Joey Logano has gotten to Brad Keselowski. See if the Penske teammates can make something happen in the draft.
Well, Keselowski was a big loser too when Danica took the lead. He had made a big move to try to get the lead from Jimmy Johnson, and that's when they went 3 and 4 wide.
He was the one that kind of had to jump out of the gas for a minute, but he's got his partner there with him now.
That was Quapple you saw pull out a line off turn 4 and head to pit road for a green flag stop. We will see that for all of these drivers sometime in the next 5 to 7 laps.
That could get kind of dicey here too. We have seen in the past accidents happen as these drivers try to get to pit road.
Pit stop coming up too. They've got to get on pit road as quick as they can and get off, and then they have to keep from sliding those tires, because most of them, I'm sure, are only going to take about a half a can of fuel. Not going to be there very long.
And don't speed. It's going to be very difficult. You want to get there and you want to get off, but don't get caught speeding.
You're Danica Patrick. You just passed the 6-time champion for the lead.
Feeling good. Hey, she's doing a fantastic job. She's run, I've seen her run at the back, run in the middle, but when it came time here to run, she made some good moves as I watched her work her way up there, using the side draft and using the draft of other cars to get herself in that position. So yeah, she should feel good right now, what she's doing.
That's Clint Boyer trying to make some noise in the outside lane. Clint's been one of the crowd hanging around at the back.
Yep, he knows how to win here.
Clint been sporting his Kansas City Royals cap all weekend long, cheering the home state team on as they go to the World Series starting Tuesday night at the K.
Seeing it now. These pushes are a little bit harder. These bumps are a little bit harder. You can see the side drafting starting to get a little bit closer.
When will the moves to pit road be made?
Hey, just if he locks up right front or left front or something like that, you're going to need to tell me, because I'm not planning on taking tires. You got it.
Chad Knaus talking to Earl Barban, the spotter.
Yeah, that's just what I was talking about. They're going to really be pushing this. They're going to try to do everything they can, but they cannot slide one of those front tires. And usually it's the right front that gets the flat spot. And he's relying on that spotter to tell him, hey, we've got a flat spotted right front. We'll have to change too.
Looks like Ambrose is coming to pit road this time. You can see his hand out the window waving to let him know behind so he doesn't get hit as he tries to get down and slow down a little bit. See if anybody else coming with him.
That's where it could get dicey here in the braking zone.
It looked like all the Fords decided to come together.
Ambrose, Keselowski, Biffle, Logano, Blaney. Doc?
It'll be 2 tires for Logano, 2 tires in 3.5 seconds of fuel. They may put a little more fuel in it, trying to get the right side tires on, and he is away.
So what looked like a well-orchestrated plan by some of the Ford teams to stop together, try and form a draft, and get back out.
I think if they could do this early and get themselves, since they were all up towards the front of the pack, then they may be able to break away a little bit, or at least be in front of this group after they pit.
Next lap, here comes the leader.
Joey Logano gives up the lead to Danica Patrick.
Now, Danica should be able to run at least probably another 4 to 5 laps based on her trip to pit road back at lap 54.
Matt?
2 top 5s in his last 3 visits to MIS for Joey Logano. During this run, it was very loose on the restart, and he just could not get in and off the corner, especially tight on entry. They're going to, you see significant chassis adjustment for Logano, who's filing away.
Well, last night, Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers lost it in the 9th. They couldn't come back from a 1-run deficit. Joey Logano's team was swinging for the fences. Struck out.
They do have a win, but I'm not sure this is the right time of the race to be gambling necessarily. I would have been a little more possibly conservative.
Patrick Harvick, teammates. First, second.
We should see her on pit road, possibly this lap right here.
I think she's coming this time.
That's Danica right in front of Harvick, peeling off for pit road.
Jeff Gordon's been a little bit loose in and a little bit snug in the center. They're going to make a slight chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change to the 24 car, also taking on some race fuel. A chassis adjustment on both sides, left and right.
And all these guys are on pit road, Rick, because that tire is loose on pit road.
Right.
All these crew chiefs are expecting a caution. So when we talk about the strategy and trying to get to pit road and all the things that go into it, you want to be on pit road before the caution comes out. So all of these crew chiefs say, I think a caution's coming out for that stray tire. Pit, pit, pit. Come in here. Let me top off the fuel before the caution comes out.
Yeah, because the 48 was just on pit road. We saw him just a couple laps ago. Now he's back on the racetrack after coming off of pit road. Now, there's going to be a penalty for the 2 because equipment was removed. There's a wheel that's no longer in their pit box and was uncontrolled. So the 2 is receiving a penalty. Brad Keselowski will have to come back to pit road to serve that penalty. Take another look. Coming onto pit road and into his pit stall, he's just too fast.
Hope all these guys are okay. Obviously, that was a big fall, but see all the brake dust on the left front wheel. I just wonder they were using so much brake, and we're going to see a lot of brake dust here, but I just wonder if he's using so much brake that the brakes didn't work the way he was anticipating them to. You know, sometimes it's easy to, you're trying to get in pit road as hard as you can. You're trying to get your stall as hard as you can. The car just didn't get stopped. I mean, obviously, it's, falls on Brad, but I just wonder if he didn't anticipate it because the brakes weren't working quite as effectively as he had planned on.
Yeah, you understand that the front tire carrier and the jackman, their job is to leave pit wall, one pit stall before. That's when you're allowed to leave pit wall. So you're allowed to leave pit wall one stall away. Those guys have to jump out in front of the car. You see that the jackman knew he wasn't going to make it, tried to put on the brakes, but still got hit. And we listened in on the radio after that mishap.
Sorry about that, guys. Just locked the front up. Couldn't get him to come back.
Just like you said there, Jeff, he locked the brakes up. He couldn't get the tires to start gripping the track again, slid through his pit stall. But that's a scary moment. The guys that have to jump out in front of that car, they have to have faith that driver's going to stop. And you can tell.
Guys, there's the caution.
Caution is out for the tire on pit road.
We knew the caution was coming. That's why all those guys came and took fuel. That's just veteran calls on top of the pit box. These crew chiefs know NASCAR cannot leave that tire on pit road for safety reasons. Come down, get their service, knowing the caution's coming.
And NASCAR has said that the reason it didn't come out initially was it was in a safe area up next to that outside wall.
Yeah, NASCAR does everything they can not to throw the caution in the middle of a pit cycle. If they throw the caution in the middle of the pit cycle, it messes everything.
A lot of conversation with Mike Wheeler and Denny Hamlin about how many tires they wanted to take on the 11. Wheeler wanted to go 4, Hamlin wanted to go 2. They went back and forth. They are going to go 4 at this point on the 11. Chris.
Brad Keselowski, we saw a lot of quarter coming out of that car early on this race. They pulled a lot of tape on the grill. The car working well now. 4 tires on this stop. Jamie.
78 Martin Truex Jr.
Take a look at the Busch race summary coming off that 7-car crash. In fact, we've had 3 different wrecks in this race, with Danica Patrick cycling through the leader at the moment. 16 lead changes already in time now for the Fox NASCAR mid-race report live from Talladega, Alabama. Nice to have you watching. With the threat of rain at the start of the race, things were sped up. Rookie pole sitter Chase Elliott led the first 13 laps. The favorite for today, Dale Earnhardt Jr., triggered a 4-car wreck on lap 50.
Boyer is in and Danica Patrick assumes the lead.
Mike, I tell you one thing. I watched that 78 make his pit stop. They are on it tonight.
Boy,
they have had flawless pit stops so far.
And I thought Matt Kenseth really got to pit road even a little bit more aggressive than he did. But when they left pit road, he gapped them.
Yeah, he stretched it out.
Wow, it's not too often you do that to Matt Kenseth on pit road.
No, I'm just watching those guys. Of course, they're in the best pit stall. They got the #1 spot down there, but they've been nailing those stops.
Truex's lead was 3.6 seconds before pit stops. It's now about 3.4.
Well, what's going on with that 6 car? But got something dragging really, really bad.
Oh, man, he's trailing Sparks about 30, 40 feet out the right side of the car behind him.
Casey Mears gets a lap back from Danica Patrick, and Martin Truex Jr. goes back to the lead.
A little trouble for the 19 on left side that time, a little slow.
Uncontrolled tire for the 95, Michael McDowell. And about 6 seconds was the difference. That's how long it took once Hamlin and Kyle Busch went by before Edwards and Allmendinger exited the pits. So that's how much they gained by stopping earlier and getting those fresh tires.
You know,
here's your leader, Danica Patrick.
Mike, something I don't want to hear. This is the money stop, because it seems like everybody comes up short every time we hear that from a crew chief.
Well, it's great to see Danica Patrick out leading this race.
Well, she's one of 3 cars that stopped back at lap 47. Casey Mears in 2nd and Cole Witt in 14th are the others.
Yeah, she's had a good car all weekend, qualified well, practiced well. She's been very happy with her race car, leading the race right now. 19:49 last time by. Not a bad lap time for this far into a run.
But she and Mears are going to need a stop, and Mears about to give up 2nd place to a charging Hamlin and Busch. Whoa, that's a tough place to pass.
Man, well, Kyle Busch couldn't make up his mind if Mears was going to get out of his way or not. He had to hesitate there for a second.
Well, there's a big discrepancy in older tires versus newer tires, and you can just see, you know, Casey Mears doing a great job holding on, but he knows that he's under a totally different pit scenario than what these other 2 are.
Danica hits for 7, and here come Hamlin and Busch. Lap 47 is when she was last on pit road. Same with Casey Mears. There's the difference in new versus worn tires.
Mike, I'm telling you, though, those Danica, the last time by, 1946, that's as good as I've seen anybody run on older tires. So her car is pretty good.
"26 laps since she was last to pit road. And it'll be 36 laps to go in the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma.
So a big issue for Matt Kenseth. We'll see how bad that affects him when he comes back out onto the racetrack and everyone cycles through. Right now, Danica Patrick scored as the race leader. Ty Dillon running 2nd. Ty was involved in the incident earlier. Matt Kenseth 3rd. Martin Truex Jr. is 4th on the scoring chart. We see Kurt Busch going by the 10 of Danica Patrick. But again, Danica scored as the race leader. Currently on the lead lap. There are 25 cars. Kurt Busch just in front of the 10 of Danica Patrick, and Kurt Busch running 25th.
Saw Kevin Harvick coming in, did not get stopped in time. Really didn't have, you can see way back, he just wasn't coming in at the right angle. It makes me wonder, we've talked about brakes the entire race and how you're using probably more brake than you thought. It makes me wonder if the car didn't slow down like he anticipated. When your brakes are hot and you come on pit road, they do not work as well. And I wonder if just he wasn't slowed down as much as he thought the car would slow down. Kelly?
Danica Patrick, race leader. She last pitted on lap 14. Dave.
So 76 laps left. She could make it. She will make it on 3 more stops, or sure, maybe 2, if crew chief Billy Scott decides to try to stretch it for the rest of the race. Speed hasn't been her problem this weekend. It's been all about brakes. In practice on Friday, she had braking issues. They had to replace a brake line that had rubbed a small pinhole in it. So after they rebuilt that, even today, she's still having some trouble with her brakes. But right now, out in front in that clean air.
And clean air is key around this racetrack. As long as you don't have someone in front of you that is messing up your braking zones, what you're trying to do as far as accelerating off of turns. Danica Patrick now leading at Watkins Glen. She has led 13 laps this season. Presented by Sprint. Sprint's network reliability now within 1% of Verizon. Switch today and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Visit a Sprint store or sprint.com/network today. Danica Patrick, then Kyle Busch, who is about 6 seconds back from Danica Patrick.
32 laps to go in stage 1. And Danica Patrick picks up the lead here in Charlotte from David Reagan and Martin Truex. Jamie?
And Danica Patrick, she competed in 7 Indy 500s, 6 top 10s. She watched it earlier today, and she felt good about her chances tonight. She's your current leader. When she pitted that first time around, though, she said she was a little bit tight, but that wasn't the problem. The jack post broke on the right side, so they had a hard time jacking the car. They said they want to try to fix that on the next stop, but that'll take a little time.
Well, it's pretty hard to fix that jack stop. It's welded up into the frame rail. When that breaks off, not sure how you're going to fix that in a hurry.
And Larry, that may be why Danica Patrick stays on the racetrack, hasn't made her stop if they're trying to run this out so they can make that repair under caution.
But Mike, they still will have to stop, because pitting there at lap 24, you're still about 10 to 15 laps shy to make it to the end of the stage. So they're going to have to pit if we stay. They're probably hoping for a caution.
Patrick and David Reagan are the only drivers who have not made this green flag stop. Now, before the pit cycle, Martin Truex was 1.35 seconds back, but by pitting before anybody else, he would be the leader once Patrick and Reagan come to pit road.
Uh-oh.
71 laps complete in Charlotte.